And welcome live into DETV for another sports update Monday, March 27th. Nick Alessandrini alongside Jason McCall and Matt Maurer. We are back in action. Last time we talked, introducing everyone to the March Madness bracket. We all had our picks. It did not go the way we intended, but it did not for anyone else in the country either. So everyone recuperating from that. The first time ever where three teams will be making their first Final Four in the same season. We'll talk a little bit about that. But let's get to the main reason why we're all here early here at 6:15 on a Monday, and that's to get Jason's reaction to the Lamar Jackson news. We'll give him his own camera and hear him one-on-one in just a moment. We've been waiting all week for that, or all day since that news was announced. We'll go over again the Final Four, an NBA update for the Eastern and Western Conference, see where the teams are, and the playoffs just around the corner. Our NFL free agency winners and losers, so a lot to get into. And then, of course, MLB Opening Day just around the corner, guys, as well. The Phillies and the Orioles on Thursday afternoon. So a lot to talk about, guys. First, though, how we doing Monday? Ready to get back at it. And attention quickly turns to Jason.
That's right.
How are you doing today? And you don't have to dive into the Lamar Jackson stuff just yet, but how are you doing, vibe level? How are you feeling right now?
You know what? It's Monday. It's a new week.
Fresh start, right?
Fresh start, literally. Fresh start. That's all I can say. It's a fresh start.
With that being said, let's talk about it. Matt, we'll start, and then we'll give Jason his own time to talk about everything, to get everything off his chest that he wants to talk about. But it was announced today, or Lamar tweeting out right at the coaches' meeting, right as John Harbaugh was taking the microphone to speak to reporters, that he had asked for a trade back on March 2nd, and the tweet kind of talking about how he didn't want to be a part of the Ravens organization anymore. So a big twist from last time. The money was said to have been the main reason as to why he wouldn't be a Raven next year. Now it kind of sounds like there's some other stuff going on. Now maybe less likely of a chance he's back in Baltimore. Matt, how do you feel about this whole thing?
I mean, I think this was going to happen regardless. I mean, look, Baltimore, for their history, they've never put in great money when it comes to getting offensive weapons. They've always been a defense-first type of team. They've always had a great tight end, and they've always had a semi-speedster at the wide-out position. It's been no different. And I think the biggest difference between what they usually build is they usually have a really good running back. And they've been kind of bad at that lately because guys have been getting banged up. So they just don't have the pieces to get Lamar where he needs to go. I do think Lamar is also trapped in a little game. And the game is you have the owners pissed off at Cleveland because Cleveland did that guaranteed deal with Deshaun Watson. And I think that a lot of these guys that are coming forward in free agency that are quarterbacks, they want to get that guaranteed money. And I think that a lot of these owners are going to play hardball. I don't think it's going to happen. Unfortunately, I just think it's a shell game for him. I think he's fighting an uphill battle, and unfortunately, he's not going to get what he wants. I just don't see a team giving him what he wants, and we don't even know what he wants. He says that offer that they have out there was not the true offer, so we don't know what the money is that separates him from being there, from not being there. So I would love Lamar to just clear this up, let us all know what he wants, and then we could really get a good handle of things. But right now, it's just he said, she said, they said. We don't know anything right now.
And Jason, we sat here, Matt, myself, and you, for the last couple months. It seems like before the NFL season or towards the tail end, when we had these episodes, we had this same exact discussion. It was pay Lamar Jackson. We had it through the first couple of weeks of the regular season where he looked like he was in that 2019 MVP form, gets hurt towards the tail end of the year, not able to finish his second consecutive season. We'll see if that has anything to do with it. But here we go, Jason. How do you feel saying he requested a trade? So there was always, I'm sure, in the back of your mind that he would be a Baltimore Raven again at some point. They used the non-exclusive franchise tag back a few weeks ago so he can negotiate with some other teams for a trade. He asked for a trade on March 2nd. That comes out today, March 27th. Your reaction?
I mean, what can I say that has already been said, to really be honest? I think that the Ravens are trying to make themselves look better in the eye of the public, but either way this goes, it all looks bad for the Ravens right now. You tell me that you're just going to announce almost a month later that Lamar asked for a trade on March 2nd. I don't blame him. which means he asked for a trade before the start of the league year, before your deadline for the putting the franchise tag on him. It makes business sense for him to request a trade. But you let other trades go by this far already, where it could have been a better quarterback coming in with some more pieces, and that Lamar is sitting out there wanting a trade, but yet at the same time, you don't know what you're going to get back for him right now, based on the market, like you said, and Cleveland making essentially the worst deal in NFL history with the amount of money guaranteed. Not the fact that it was a guaranteed contract, but the amount of money guaranteed to a player who hadn't played in, 18 months prior to that?
Yeah, and with off-the-field
and
issues.
off-the-field issues. But in Lamar's situation, I look at it like this. I'm a former MVP of this league.
Unanimous.
Unanimous. I'm one of the faces of the entire league at that. I came to Baltimore, embraced the city, embraced the culture, day one. Never had anyone as electric as him ever in a Ravens uniform, especially at quarterback. Think about this. He's the first Pro Bowl quarterback we've had since Vinny Testaverde in '97. You heard? Yeah, I said Vinny Testaverde. Yeah. To say I'm pissed would be an understatement. But at the same time, I understand the business. And now we see that Lamar understands the business. But like I said a few weeks ago, I said if Lamar leaves the Ravens, I might think about leaving them too. This doesn't really shape up too well for organization. Now, like I said, I've had a few internet trolls throughout the day. Mainly my best friend talked about Lamar Jackson, the Ravens, and tweeted him in a god-awful blue and white of Indianapolis. That better not happen. But Lamar's good as gone. He's been gone for probably the last 2 months. Because again, Ozzie Newsome isn't advisable. He's not the main guy running the show.
Not there anymore.
So there's a difference of philosophy. I think if Ozzie's there, this deal's already done. DaCosta spins different.
Right.
And that's really what the case is. So Baltimore fans, he's tweeted out the thank you to the city and to the fans. He's gone. There's nowhere else to get around there. And I'm just a disgruntled football fan right now.
So there you have it from Jason. Matt, response, you want to add to that?
Here's the problem with Lamar Jackson. And it's not, when I say this, it's not saying this at a part where it's like it's all on Lamar Jackson. But there's some time has gone by since he won his MVP. And he's been injured. The team has been banged up. 2 consecutive years he was injured. I think you brought it up during the season when he initially got injured. You said you're not going to be surprised if he's out for the rest of the season. You called that accurately. I think that coupled with the fact that the league is seeing guys like Josh Allen, Pat Mahomes, you have Justin Herbert. We're now seeing the emergence of Justin Fields. When that starts to happen, I think there is some brand tarnish on Lamar, which might be reason why, and I'm not saying it's all on him, but might be the reason why there's this trepidation with people signing him or giving him this money that he deserves. And I do think he deserves it. Let's be abundantly clear. He absolutely deserves it. They got him on a sweetheart deal with him dropping in the draft like he did. So clearly he deserves it. I mean, we've seen this with Dak Prescott, who went in the 4th round. Most of the time when you get guys at a steal, and let's be honest, a steal for any starting quarterback in the NFL is if you get him out of the top 10. You get any quarterback out of the top 10, you pay that guy because you've already got him on a sweetheart deal. So look, it's messed up for Lamar. I don't think he's deserving what he's getting, but at the end of the day, I think some of those things have been compound factors as to why there's been this fight, if you will, with do we give him the money, do we not give him the money? And listen, at the end of the day, you said it, Vinny Testaverde. If this franchise does not understand what they have, then it's probably best that he does move on. Because if they're not going to pay him, and like you just said, Vinny Testaverde, for people who don't know, Vinny Testaverde was an awesome fantasy quarterback if you didn't count interceptions. He gave you mad yardage and he gave you touchdowns. But if you count the interceptions in your league, you're going to get in trouble. But that's how far back we're talking. So if 20 plus years, if they can't figure out that this guy is that good, that's on them.
Elvis Gerbach.
Yeah.
Kyle Bowler.
Kyle Bowler.
Stoney Case. Tony Banks.
Yeah.
Chris Redman.
Tony Banks. Wow.
Joe Flacco got lucky with in 2012, the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
We were going to trade him before that season started.
But you paid him.
Paid him.
Yeah.
At that time, it was the highest deal ever for a quarterback.
That's right, it was.
It was $20+ million a season.
Yeah.
But again, at that time, play quarterback in the league at that time, and he's not Lamar Jackson. I'll just leave it at that to be PC right now. But when you look at Lamar, even with his stats, forget injuries aside, the brand tarnish, whatever. If you get a spot on some silver and you polish it, it's still silver, right? It's still a great metal, right?
Absolutely.
It's still precious. He's 26.
Yeah.
He's not 35. He's not past his prime. His velocity on his throws haven't gone anywhere. His elusiveness hasn't gone anywhere. He's actually gotten better as a pocket passer, if you will, in the last 2.5 years from what they've asked him to do. Baltimore has never drafted anything outside of a running back or tight end very well.
Yeah.
And the free agent signings on offense have always been people past their prime. The only decent receiver we've gotten in free agency was Anquan Bolden. And he proved in 2012 that he was still a serviceable receiver.
Worked out.
Other than that, Steve Smith over the hill. Maybe Desmond, maybe Derek Mason.
Derek Mason.
Yeah.
That's it. And another quarterback we've had of name value prior to Lamar was Steve McNair.
Yeah.
Man, I talk about this all day. We can move on something else.
Well, we got to stay with it for at least a few more minutes. Sorry, Jason, but now we're going to talk about where he might be going next. That's how we'll close out this segment here. And when you think about the offseason and NFL free agency, a lot of teams have made their moves already. You talk about the Falcons, maybe not a quarterback. They're going to go with Desmond Ridder, but tons of money they spent in the offseason on free agents. Down the list, Raiders get Garoppolo. Broncos obviously still have Russell Wilson. Teams filled that need. Even Washington signed Jacoby Brissett to a $10 million one-year deal. The people over there, they love Sam Howell. We'll see how that progresses. But where to next? You look at the list.
I can tell you.
Where we got?
Come San Fran, baby. Okay?
Wishful thinking.
It is wishful thinking.
Yeah, that is.
I'm talking about brand tarnish, but that's how good I like Lamar Jackson in that offense. I think he'd be great.
I mean, you have a quarterback who has a half an elbow right now.
Yeah, that's right.
Another quarterback who hasn't played more than
man.
5 games.
Right,
We'll give him
right
Trey
leg.
Lance.
And that's the thing,
That's
too,
the
right,
deal.
Jason? Because they're going to need, at this point late in the NFL
Get Trey
offseason,
Lance.
training camp around the corner, if you were to trade Lamar Jackson, you wouldn't have a quarterback. Unless you're getting one of those picks top near the draft, you need a quarterback in return.
I think they were at Auburn's pro day. Watching Cam throw. I mean,
Man.
I would. Come on now.
for the offensive fit,
You really-
I'm
We're
not
not
saying
having
I
this
want Cam
discussion,
at all.
are
We are having this discussion. We are.
Because I love Cam Newton.
I'm saying this. For the way the offense is already set up,
I agree. Okay,
I'll
I
take
agree.
Cam over Snoop Huntley.
Man, I don't want Cam, bro.
I don't know if I would.
But at the same time, let's answer your question.
Cam throw like Uncle Rico from Dynasty.
Oh, you mean he throws like McNabb? Oh,
Go
okay.
over the mountains. Up the mountains.
Throw
over
over
there.
the mountains, man.
I would
I
say.
don't want no.
But
I don't want
let
no
me
Cam,
throw
bro.
something out to you real quick,
I
Jason.
don't want that.
Thinking obviously they would need a quarterback in return. We just talked about that.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the Tennessee Titans?
You took right in my mouth.
There we go.
That's the deal. That's
Now,
the deal.
You get Tannehill plus.
Yeah.
They have what? Like 13. They wanted the pick. What pick they have this year's draft? I want to say 13. Somewhere in the teens.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I believe that Lamar will be a Tennessee Titan. I've heard rumblings of this for a while, and the dark horse team still would be the Commanders. Because now, if you want a plug and play fit right away, go to Washington.
Cobra Commanders.
They have the talent. It's a perfect
I don't
time.
want to be the NFC East,
It's
but I agree with you there.
It's a perfect time for a change with the regime possibly the sale of the team.
And they said that might be one of the issues of bringing in Lamar Jackson is the whole ownership and selling of the team and signing a player to that big of a contract during a time like that. I'm not sure the specifics about it, but I think he would be. I mean, if you're Washington, how do you not make a move?
Have we seen Daniel Snyder's track record?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Maybe if they have to get him out as soon as possible.
They paid Albert Hainsworth, man. No, they paid Albert Hainsworth.
Oh man, Albert Hainsworth.
And I love Dion, my favorite player of all time. And he was probably their worst signing.
And they signed McNabb.
McNabb.
He was basuda.
Let me throw another thing out here. Meek Mill said he talked to Robert Kraft earlier this week, and he heard Meek Mill and Lamar Jackson are close. Meek Mill saying that Lamar told him he wants to play for the New England Patriots. How do you think about that fit? You would get maybe Mac Jones back.
There's no way.
Ain't no way, boy.
Ain't no way.
Boy, ain't no way, boy.
There's no way.
Ain't no way.
Lamar in a Patriot uniform?
He does not fit.
Bill Belichick is a huge Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, he's also.
I ain't buying.
Look, he was also a huge Chad Johnson fan. What happened when Chad was in New England? Nothing. Exactly. Not gonna happen.
Well, you have Lamar Jackson, 26 years old in his prime. Chad
was terrible over there.
Yeah, but he was over
he was terrible in New England, but he wasn't like past his prime athletically. He just couldn't play in New England.
I wouldn't like to see him in New England. I'm not sure about that fit would be, but there has been some.
I don't think they're gonna give up on Mac Jones over there.
Some people, you're right, but that's the issue, right? Do you give up Mac Jones for Lamar Jackson? And some people would say depending on what else you have to give up.
If the Ravens are smart, I hate to agree with you on this one, but they trade him to a team in the NFC.
Come to the Bay, baby.
Yeah, I agree.
You don't keep him in the AFC.
I agree.
Come to the Bay.
Especially with teams that's going to eventually play the regular season.
Again, you think about it, Stafford hurt in L.A. with the Rams. They might need a quarterback going forward. Tampa Bay has Baker Mayfield as their starter and Kyle Trask. They're going to be battling out there. Green Bay, Jordan Love.
Serious question. Mm-hmm. How is Baker Mayfield still convincing people he can play quarterback
in
the
NFL?
Point. How?
That's why Cam said, ain't 32 better than me. That's what he said.
Well, there's 32 arms better than him. That's the problem. That's
the thing, his shoulder.
He's right. There's not 32 better quarterbacks, but there's 32 better arms than Cam Newton. That's the problem. Right, well, I love you, Cam. But it's done, bro.
Let's stick with the NFL just for one more moment here, guys. Let's get our winners and losers quickly from free agency. A lot has gone on the last couple of weeks in terms of the NFL and players changing teams. I'm going to start with one of my winners, guys, and I'm going to go with the Panthers, who made that trade for the #1 pick. They've been longing for a quarterback. Depending on who they take, I think that's a great spot to go to one. They get Miles Sanders on a very friendly deal. Von Bell, Hayden Hurst, some other guys like that for the defensive tackles. Adam Thielen coming in to help out that receiving core. They do lose DJ Moore, but they have a lot of picks. They have the first pick, 39 overall in the draft as well. I think they'll address receiver in the second round. But I like what the Panthers did. What do you guys stand on NFL free agency? What teams did you like their transactions?
I mean, it starts and it ends with what the Panthers have done. They've only done that's been really active, really making real noise, getting real players. I would say outside of Carolina, I would probably say San Fran. With upgrades on the line, I would say.
Hargrave,
I agree with that. Hargrave was huge.
Yeah, those are my two teams.
But I do think losing Mike McClinchy is devastating for us. We're going to have to go into the draft and probably get a right tackle again.
Yeah, Denver Broncos signing 2 offensive linemen to big money contracts.
But I'm not sold on Miles Sanders, though. I'm just not.
I am. I mean, the Eagles.
Also for the price, I think. Yeah, but was it 4 years?
He needs a rushing quarterback in order to be effective.
But okay, so for the Eagles, so you have other running backs out there, bigger names. Mm-hmm. You let Miles Sanders go, but you signed Rashard Penny, who hasn't played the whole season ever in the NFL.
You know who I would take over Miles Sanders, though? And this might be controversial, but I take Mike Montgomery, the Montgomery kid.
Montgomery, yeah.
David
Montgomery, yeah.
Yeah.
That's right, and he's with now the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, that was a great pickup for the Lions.
Yeah, but I will say this, I was so surprised, and again, this is off topic, you see Jamal Williams not back with Detroit. He seemed like the heart and soul of that team. Throw over, 30 touchdowns?
That's Mike Tolbert 2.0, man.
Mike Tolbert, 30 plus touchdowns. And then he goes to Montgomery, gets $2 more million to Detroit, and Jamal Williams takes $2 million less and goes to New Orleans. I think that, I don't know, I like Jamal Williams in Detroit.
Man, Jamal Williams thinks he's arriving. It's not happening.
Well, he could be Michael Turner all over again, too.
Michael Turner, a couple good years there from San Diego.
Yeah, that's it, a couple good years.
A couple good years.
Maybe, we'll see.
Well,
isn't Jamal like 30, though?
He's got to be late 20s.
27, like 27, 28.
Yeah, something
I
like
feel like
that.
he's been around Green Bay forever, and then
I think he was old when he got drafted.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it, some NFL talk. Now let's dive in to the March Madness, the NCAA Final Four as said, and for the first time in history, 3 teams will be making their first appearance in the Final Four all in the same year. The only team that's been here before, the UConn Huskies, and they have multiple national championships to show for it. Danny Hurley has them playing very well right now. They have a blowout win over Gonzaga. They've won games by 24, 15, 23, and 28. So have not been challenged, at least so far during the tournament. Jordan Hawkins, Sanogo, they've been fantastic. They run deep. We talked about the depth a little bit in the pre-bracket show. Let's talk a little bit about UConn. They beat Gonzaga in the Elite Eight, 82-54. Guys, what have you seen from UConn, and are they your favorites to take home the national championship?
Oh, I think I think they got the easiest road to a title probably in the last couple years since, I don't know, the Butler VCU maybe, Final Four. I mean, it's easy. I mean, they've got NBA talent and Sanogo. Hawkins, I think, is the only first-round pick on there. You got Andre Jackson, who's like Ben Simmons, doesn't have the jump shot, but can play defense, everything else. And then they have the young big man, I think is a potential first-round pick, Donovan Clingan, who's 7'2".
He's a big
he
guy.
creates problems. I just think, top to bottom, I think they have the talent. If we're talking about pure talent-wise, out of all the 4 teams, they have the most. I think they got it.
I think UConn owes Kevin Ollie a banner. A lot of these players were originally recruited
That was an
by Kevin Ollie.
that separation after winning the national championship was a few years later, right? He was out at UConn.
I think a lot of these players are still some of his earlier recruits, although Danny Hurley has come in and done an amazing job. But UConn, people were talking UConn from the very beginning of the tournament, saying if they get hot, they could cut down the net. And you see they've made it to the Final Four, and every time they make it to the Final Four, they won a national championship. But let's talk about the bigger picture here. No number 1 seeds since number 1 seeding started in '79 in the Final Four. That's the bigger story for me. It comes to show you that parity has finally arrived in college basketball to the point where you don't have to have a Power 5 conference school in front of your chest to make a name for yourself or to make a deep run. Case in point with FAU making the Final Four. I mean, FAU, that's really?
The Owls. But again, we all say that, and I agree with you there. They're the winningest team in Division I this season.
This season, yeah.
Which has been crazy, and that's the thing. Like, them and Charleston were kind of the mid-major programs that were hanging out towards the tail end of that top 25, in the season. And Charleston, kind of went cold towards the end. They fell out, and we saw Charleston go down in that first round as a 12 seed, and you kind of figure maybe Florida Atlantic, at least for me, I thought Memphis was going to take them out in round 1, something similar, but Dusty May, the former Florida Gator assistant coach, has been phenomenal there with Florida Atlantic. They've got a giant in the middle with Golden, the guy from Russia. They've got, I think they play 4 guards for Florida Atlantic,
They do.
right?
They
And all those guys can shoot, handle, they pass the ball, they're unselfish, and they out-hustle you. I don't know if they're going to out-hustle like the Aztecs have out-hustled everybody they played. San Diego State's impressed me there, guys. Let's jump into the Aztecs and that final call. 1.1 seconds to go. Andrew Nembhard with that left arm. We've seen the clip. We're not sure we're going to have it to play for everybody at home, but hand on the body
and then
as Trammell was
he
going
grazes
up.
them as it's going up.
Foul call. When the foul was called on the clock, 0 seconds after the call was made in real time. So basically, you're sending a player to the free throw line with a chance to win the game. 2 free throws. Jason, let's start with you here. How do you feel about the call? And I will say, I do think it was a foul call, but the question is, do you make that call at that time after the way they had been playing in that game? What do you think?
It was a foul, and you make that call. It's similar say off air, similar to the non-PI or PI call in the Super Bowl. It happened, and the whistle was blown. It's simple as that. And when you go back to the replay, you cannot grip a man's side, you're gripping his hip essentially, and then going over the other hand. It was there. And Howard was savvy enough to lean into it and shoot the ball. That'll be a foul call anywhere, anytime. Whether it's Elite 8 game, a preseason game, or a conference game during rivalry week. That's a call regardless, and it just happened to be on the biggest stage. But that call would have been called regardless. I don't care what team was playing, it would have been called regardless.
Matt, do you make that call? Can you make that call? A spot to win the region on the line, a chance to go to Houston for the Final Four tie game. Did we deserve overtime?
I mean, I agree with Jason on this. I mean, I've never understood this fan logic with calls. Like, it's like, oh, you're in the playoffs or you're in the biggest game. You can't make that call. It's like, if you can make the call during the regular season, you want that same call in the game. The one thing I hate, and anybody who watches basketball, it's completely subjective at times with calls. I want a consistent ref.
That's
if you're
the goal,
gonna
right?
if you're gonna call fouls on this, call fouls on that. Don't pick and choose when you're gonna call fouls for something. So yeah, if it's during the season and you're hitting a guy in the elbow, yeah, it's a foul call. It's gonna happen. People just be shocked and say, oh, you can't make that call because you're here or you're there. It doesn't matter. You want a consistent rule book and you want a consistent standard of play. And at the end of the day, whether people like it or not, it was a foul. It is what it is.
I mean, it's just been a very mid-tournament, to be honest. So it's fitting that we have a mid-Final Four.
Yeah.
So, I mean.
And the referee play has been bad.
I think the officiating has been.
So
I
up
can't
and
watch a
down.
possession, and this is not even to that extent. I can't watch a possession without somebody traveling on any team. Now, if you were to go back and watch any of these games, there are travels, and I think they let everybody take an extra step that I didn't know about. There's a rule change. You get 3 steps now. Maybe.
There's an extra gather,
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's an extra gather for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it has been.
But it's across all basketball.
Yeah.
All basketball, even. It's just pro, college, is high school. Everybody's getting an extra step out of nowhere now. It's hard to watch.
It is.
And again, you heard De'Aaron Fox, say something similar the other day. He says he can't watch March Madness due to the officiating. He said the shot selection, other stuff like that. I know we hate to see NBA players say stuff like that. I know, Matt, you got to take
shut up, man. Come on, bro. What is he talking about? They're not pros.
He's just mad that people can't watch the Kings on TV.
And again, before we close out on this subject, I will say one thing, and I agree with you both. It was a foul. It definitely was. I agree with you there. I just think and you talked about consistency. That call wasn't being made throughout the game. That game that they were playing, if you look at it, I think we've averaged 40 foul shots maybe per game in the NCAA tournament for the two teams going at it. I think that might be the average. You look at the free throws for this game, 11 total for Creighton and 6 total for San Diego State. That's 19. So they weren't calling fouls. They weren't shooting free throws. They made that call at the end of the game. It was not consistent with how the game was being played, but I agree with you both. Had to be a foul call. It was a foul call. So, like I said, I can't complain about it. And in real time, I accepted it because that's what it was.
Listen, that game was back and forth.
It was a great game. And that's why I was hoping for a little overtime action. But again, made the free throw. And again, Creighton got a chance at the end of the game.
I mean, he missed the first free throw, so it's not like
exactly.
It's
He
like,
did miss the first free throw. You're right about that. So there you have it. There, we'll see how they
let's talk about
go going forward here with
who I think are going to be the national champions.
Do you?
I think the winner of UConn, Miami, and we haven't touched on Miami, but they have an upset win over Texas, who a lot of us had advancing to the Final Four in our brackets. They had been red hot coming into that contest, but Miami, guys, has looked so good, Jason. To your point, you get UConn now. So I think that right side of the bracket as opposed to San Diego State and Florida Atlantic, it's the strong side. I think the winner takes the national championship. But I might be with you, Jason. They can beat you in so many ways. We saw Jordan Miller yesterday, 7 of 7, 27 points. Nigel Pack can shoot the lights out. Isaiah Wong runs the show at point guard. He can score. I mean, O'Meara, I haven't seen anybody rebound. I mean, he is dominating the glass. Norshad O'Meara for Miami in the paint. They can hit. I mean, they seems like they've got everything you need to win a national championship.
This is essentially the same team from last year that made the Elite Eight.
Yeah, add a couple transfers and look at that. Yep.
This is essentially the same team from last year, and Miller has that taste in his mouth from last year. He said in his post-game presser, they wanted to get back to this point and get over the hurdle. So you got Rick Barry and Johnny Hemsley, another former Miami player, smiling. I think this team seals the deal and goes all the way.
What do you think, Matt? UConn, Miami. Do you think the winner comes from that game, and who do you like?
Yeah, I think the winner comes from that game. I think the winner is going to be UConn. Listen, I'm all about Wong, Isaiah Wong. I'm all about Jordan Miller. I'm all about what Miami has going on. But they got their work cut out for them. with this team. This is going to be, I mean, if Jordan Hawkins continues his shooting, which has been hot. Now, if he gets cold, it's their game. But if he continues that torrid pace of shooting, they're hard to beat. And then they have, I think, one of the best pure athletes in college basketball in Andre Jackson, who's not going to give you a lot to get shots off on him. Wong cannot struggle like he did last game in the first half. He didn't turn it on to like the last 8 minutes.
And that's what cost them last year. He was, a non-factor in that loss.
Yeah. If he has the same issue, it's going to be problems for them. But that's, again, I think it's anybody's game. Me saying all that, Jordan Hawkins goes hot and cold. He tends to have that John Starks type ability where he gets hot 1 minute and he gets cold the other. So look, it can happen. But I think they got the work cut out for him. That's a tall task.
All I'll say is this. All I'll say is this. We're going to move over this, but Final Four and still seeing ACC teams. All I'll say to the haters about the ACC conference this year, haters, that's ACC is still top dog.
That's right. It's been a crazy year. We got Conference USA, Mountain West, ACC, and the Big East.
That's right. No Big Ten.
The Final Four. Oh, shocker. Here we go. Another week one.
Big
first
Ten.
Weekend, and they get Purdue.
We
haven't talked since Purdue went down to Fairleigh Dickinson.
Big Ten always gets a bunch of teams in just because of their TV contract.
Oh, man, they're brutal. Michigan State kept them alive. Even they're showing decent because of Tom Izzo, who continues to be a wizard in March. I will say that. So we talked about everything there.
Is he a wizard who only won national championship, though?
I think with the programs he's had and what he's able to do in the NCAA tournament.
That's just me. I'm one of those guys.
Well, it depends who you compare him to, in my opinion.
What?
Tom Izzo, in terms of who would you say, who do you think is a better coach, Tom Izzo or Jay Wright? I say Jay Wright, obviously.
I'm giving Jay Wright.
Yeah, I'll give
but
Jay Wright.
But that's again one of the, you're talking great coaches. Give me somebody you think that you would not think you would have over Tom Izzo, but you do. Is there somebody like that? Because I'm assuming you're saying you think he's a little bit overrated, right?
The whole conference
is. For all the way back throughout time?
That conference is.
That conference is, yeah.
That conference, I'm sorry, that's hard.
But again, he's doing it in March in the NCAA tournament.
Name the last Big Ten team to win the national championship. Don't worry, I'll wait. Exactly.
Was it Michigan State?
It was Michigan State. 2000.
Yeah.
Well, hey, don't get me wrong. I will never be a Big Ten advocate, so don't look at me there if you want some stick up for the Big Ten.
And Maryland won in 2002, but they were an ACC team at the time still, so that doesn't count.
Right. Oh, yeah. The whole new I hate the whole new conference shifting and everything. I wish we had the old Big East back. That's how I feel. So who are we going? UConn national champions, Miami?
I got Miami.
And this is national champions, not just that game.
This is national champion.
Who do you got in Florida Atlantic, San Diego State?
That game's going to be tough to call.
But I think because of
the way that the Aztecs play defense, they make a championship game.
I'm going San Diego State too.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, I would have never.
So that means that Florida Atlantic's going to be in that championship game.
Mountain West,
Florida Atlantic,
the Mountain West coming into this NCAA tournament 0-10 in just games, first round games. Hadn't won a game in their last 10 tries. And then San Diego State makes their way to Houston and the Final Four this year. So look out for that on Saturday. For me, I'm going to go with UConn over Miami, but I think whoever wins that game, I think it's going to come down to the wire, one possession game. But again, UConn has not been in a one-possession game in quite a long time here. No. So we'll see how they do. Maybe if they're actually in a close contest, we'll see how that ends up. Let's jump to the NBA here, guys. A quick update on the Western and Eastern Conference here. And really not a team that has run away or a runaway favorite in either conference. You look at the Denver Nuggets, they're somehow still 3 games up on the Memphis Grizzlies for that top spot in the West. The Kings can clinch a playoff berth tonight, which would be monumental for them. So that's going to be big. The Bucks have overtaken the top spot in the East. The Celtics right behind them, Jason. And then the Sixers 2.5 games behind Boston in spot 3. Cleveland just 2 games behind the Sixers at spot 4. So, guys, what stands out to you? Let's start in the Western Conference. Denver still has that top spot in the West, but 5-5 in their last 10. They've really not been playing that great basketball in the Mile High City. Who do you guys give the edge to in the West? Durant coming back to Phoenix. Sacramento's been good all year, but everybody's afraid to kind of pick them to make a run in the playoffs. Where do you guys sit in the Western Conference?
I'm still taking Memphis.
That's right. You've been on Memphis since the start of the year. That's right.
I'm still taking Memphis, but the biggest story right now in the Western Conference.
They've been playing well, Memphis.
The biggest story to me is look at how far from grace Dallas has fallen.
I think that's huge news as well.
They went from a 5 seed to 11 with what, like 3-4 games left in the season?
We could spend a whole episode on the Dallas Mavericks this year, so let's stay there, Jason. You talked about it.
Yeah.
They trade for Kyrie Irving. 3 and 8, I believe, are the numbers when they both have played since the trade. Not great if you're looking at Dallas. I think they're 24th in overall defense towards the tail end.
It's not Kyrie's fault. It's not Luka's fault. They don't defend.
At all.
I'm sorry, but they can't defend.
There was a scout that told an ESPN insider this week that Luka Doncic is the worst transition defender in NBA history. One, with the skill, but two, because he argues so many calls in the backcourt. He's never down the other side of the floor to play defense. When you have a 24th to 26th ranked defense, guys, and your offense, which has Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, is ranked 11th, that's not enough firepower to get you or to make up for that defense.
I also put a lot of this on Jason Kidd, too. I'll tell you why. The offense is very predictable. Either you're going to have an ISO.
A lot of ISO.
Top right with Kyrie, or top left with Luka. Everybody else, clear the way. Anybody can play defense against Dallas Mavericks. They're gonna get their points because Kyrie's gonna, as a magician with the ball, get to the hole and get his points. Luka's bigger than most players he's playing against, so get his points. Outside of that, who do you trust? Tim Hardaway Jr., Christian Wood. They lost their best defender when they traded Dinwiddie to get Kyrie.
Dorian Finney-Smith.
And Dorian Finney-Smith.
Best perimeter defender.
You knew that their rating was going to go down even further once those players were gone. Dallas, they could still probably get into the play-in and maybe get in the first round. But when it comes to a half-court offensive game, they don't have the pieces to run a half-court offense.
3-7, Matt, in their last 10 games, as Jason just talked about. They haven't been playing well. Back-to-back losses to the Hornets. Who are almost in tank mode right now. No LaMelo Ball
they lost one game
over the weekend.
without a bench.
Back-to-back losses to the Hornets. On Friday, they get blown out. You know, it was a big deal in the media. Jason Kidd said they played, like dog crap, essentially.
Yep.
And then they come back and they play even worse. In the second game, you talked about Jason Kidd. His voice obviously isn't being heard there in Dallas, at least over the weekend. Luka Doncic got his 16th technical foul. That has been rescinded. He was supposed to be suspended. They rescinded it, which is a little bit surprising to me that they did. So he's going to be back in action. Where are you on the Dallas Mavericks? I don't see them making a playoff run. Are they going to get in the play-in?
I don't think so. And
I want to fall from grace.
Unlike Jason, I put this solely on Luka Doncic. And I'm going to tell you why. Because we in the basketball community, we got to stop telling fibs about these international guys. That they come over, that they get along with everybody, that they're the best players, they fit team.
Far ahead of their time.
Yeah, say far ahead, they fit team dynamics. You just put them on the court, you don't got to worry about anything. No. This guy has problems. He comes into camp, and no one wants to talk about it. Comes into camp, he's chubby. Every year he comes into camp chubby. After every game, and look, I understand this is a European culture, but he's at the hookah bar, he's getting drinks, he's smoking cigarettes, he's doing, all right, cool. But if his name was Rashid Doncic, people would be sitting out there like, oh, he's not committed to the game. Look at how he takes care of himself. Look at how he came in. There's all these double standards that they have for him. And we saw James Harden get ripped apart in Houston for basically doing the same thing this kid does. It's ISO ball, it's I'm going to get my shot off and you guys watch and rebound. And that's basically what happens. This team dynamic thing that I keep hearing about, that he's international and he's team, I don't see it. He's James Harden with lesser talent, and he's having the same problems that James Harden had, which is you can't just dominate a ball and expect guys to continue to be hot. Guys need to get fed, offense needs to be set, chemistry has to develop. And as much as people want to put it on Kyrie, because I hear people it's Kyrie.
It's not Kyrie.
It's not Kyrie at all.
He's been there only, what, 20 games?
It's a poorly constructed team. And it might be the worst constructed team. And I'm going to put this also on the feet of Mark Cuban, because he went out a couple years ago and he made that statement. We like European players. We think European players are superior. Well, how's that apple taste, bro? It don't taste that great to me. It don't look that great to me. So... enjoy.
Again, now Kyrie Irving, a free agent after this season. They give up Dorian Finney-Smith. They give up Dinwiddie.
He's gone. He'll be a Laker. Don't worry about it.
Oh, God. Well, let's hope he doesn't go. I mean, I don't care where he goes because I don't know if they're going to have success.
He'll be a Laker.
Yeah.
By all means.
So where do they go from here now, right? Because last year they were in the Western Conference Finals. This year they're looking at maybe not making the play-in. They make that trade. They give up some stuff, a lot of stuff to get Kyrie Irving, just to, some people say to make Doncic happy, to maybe, figure that situation out. Maybe they'll bond going forward. Obviously, it's not.
That was a
looking
Mark
that way.
Cuban deal. That wasn't.
And again, Mark Cuban and Luka Doncic, it seems like continuous just complain. We saw the issue the other day where with the officials giving the ball out of bounds and that whole deal. Mark Cuban's still complaining about that. Doncic continues to complain about calls nonstop. We'll see if that changes.
Huge crybaby.
But again, Mavericks not looking good right now. Where do they go from here? They're going to lose most likely Kyrie Irving in the offseason.
He's
You
gone.
still have Doncic, but not much else on that roster. I know you're a big fan of Jaden Hardy.
Huge, yeah.
I love Hardy. I know when we did our draft show, I had him up there in the 20s as well in terms on the big board. Where do they go from here?
We haven't seen this level of dysfunction in Dallas since the trio days of Kidd, Mashburn, and Jim Jackson. Except this time it's not about Tony Braxton. It's actually about basketball.
Yeah, it's actually about basketball.
It's about basketball this time. But this dysfunction reminds me of that at that era of dysfunction, and there's no way to really get around it. And somehow, for some reason, Jason Kidd's involved in it again. Think about that. Imagine that.
And here's what's interesting too. Again, we get told that these Europeans come over, they'll stay loyal to their team. I can tell you this right now. Luka Doncic, if he doesn't get happy there, he's gone. He's not going to be like Giannis or some of these other guys. He's not going to stick it and try to figure it out. His role model, he'll tell you, is LeBron James. Yeah. And he's seen LeBron James leave whenever he feels like it. So I can tell you this right now. If Dallas don't get it right, he's gone. He's gone.
But what team can actually cater to that style of play? There's not a lot of teams that actually fit that style of play.
No, but somebody's going to take it just because he's Doncic.
And again, just a few games from winning the Western Conference last year. Again, they played really well in the playoffs. They take down Phoenix in 7 games, and then here, just such a fall.
And my pick about the Clippers doesn't look too bad right now either.
Yeah, that's one of the teams that we said to keep an eye on.
They've gotten high.
That Paul George injury, though, I think really, a couple of weeks for him.
Man, the Clippers is trash.
And without Paul George, especially healthy, I can
trash.
see it just doesn't look good.
The whole West is trash.
And again,
they're trash because they got injuries. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
they're not trash because they're bad.
Shout out to Bones Highland.
They're
now
spending
he's getting
money
into the game a little bit.
It's just
about time.
And I don't know if I would have. About time. I don't know if I would have. And again, I like Russell Westbrook. I still think he can bring something to the team. I don't know if I would have added him to that Clippers roster at that time.
Who, Bones?
No, Russ.
No.
And now Russ is taking Bones minutes, etc. And again, not a bad player. I'm just not sure if that was what they needed.
Russ is a playoff acquisition for them. Playoff time. It's not about regular season.
So you expect him to have a big impact in the playoffs?
I think mentally he's going to help Paul George get over that hump.
And that's true. That is a good point about Paul George. But will we see Paul George?
Yes.
I mean, I'm sure we're supposed to in a couple weeks, supposed to be back, but you never know how those things go.
No, we'll see Paul George.
Yeah, Paul George.
So are the Clippers a team that you guys keep an eye on?
As long as they can. When I say they're trash, I mean they can't ever seem to be.
They're never
healthy.
Exactly, I agree.
If they're all healthy, they're dangerous. But that's the biggest problem.
So who's more dangerous to you guys here in the Western Conference out of these 3 teams? Sacramento, Phoenix, or the Clippers? Ooh. Phoenix getting Durant back next week. Have a few games to test out the end of the
I'm
season.
going to say Phoenix. Just because of Booker, Durant.
Like Monty Williams as well.
You got Hill. Not Hill. Paul, who's, again, his play is taking a step back, but he still knows how to direct offense and get guys involved.
Now, out of those 3 teams?
Out of those 3.
Ooh. I'm going to say this on the air. Light the beam.
You go Sacramento,
Light the beam.
Oh, how about that?
You know why? They don't know any better.
Playing with house. Do you think they're still playing with a little house money?
They don't know any better. They're playing with house money. You got Mike Brown, who should be coach of the year.
Agreed.
I agree.
They have talent. They have 1 through 11 type talent on that roster.
Do they have the playoff experience? And you said they don't know better, but
the West this year doesn't even matter. To me, I don't think it matters this year.
Making their way back up there as well. They're in the 7th spot.
The NBA this year is like the NCAA. I don't think it matters when it comes to playoff time. It's just going to be parity's going to run rampant in the NBA as well.
Yeah. So, Matt, let me ask you this now. A team that we picked, I think, back then I think you agree with me, was Golden State maybe to come out of the Western Conference. I'm not sure, that was a few months ago.
Yep.
How do you feel about the way they've been playing? Obviously, they still can't win a game on the road. That's a little, makes me a little nervous there. They
Yep.
get a win over Dallas, but they're, blowing up right now. So I don't really count that win. Where do you stand on Golden State?
I mean, we're seeing Father Time finally get some wins against them. I mean, I just think they've played so many games, and it's starting to take a toll. Jordan Poole is exciting, but he also makes really bad plays from time to time because he's trying to be exciting. I really honestly think that their fall has been more to do with Draymond Green's decline. He is such a huge part of that offense. And I know people call him a triple single and they make fun of what he does, but he sets a tone defensively.
Agreed.
He gets in guys' faces when they don't do their job, and he runs an offense.
Yeah,
he is essentially that point guard. And when his play has been down, they are down, and they don't have anything close that replaces him.
And what's crazy is they're wasting a very good year from Klay Thompson.
Yep.
He's looking like he's getting back into form.
No, I think this is his best. To me, the eye test to me, this has been his best season I've seen him play. Barring everything that's happened to him, numbers-wise, I think this is the most complete Thompson we've seen since probably their initial championship run.
And that's the thing, right? They're sitting in the 6th spot now, but obviously they got Klay Thompson, Steph Curry. You know what you're going to get from those guys, at least in the playoffs. Do you guys think Draymond will have it come playoff time? I think once those playoffs start, he maybe flips a switch.
He could, but I wouldn't be shocked if they don't get a replacement for him, or a guy that he can nurture and mentor and get what he does. If they don't get that figured out, they're going to be perpetually these issues.
I don't trust Jordan Poole.
Absolutely not.
That's my thing for me. They can be fine. Jordan Poole was way too inconsistent with the money he's getting. And he disappears in big games.
Yes, he does.
And again, the thing that for me that stands out the most about the Warriors, or there would be a reason for me as to why they won't have similar success as last season, to me it's the Andrew Wiggins thing. I think him not being there, and again, there's no...
Of course, yeah.
I mean, that's the biggest thing for me that is the biggest question mark.
That
With
situation
him
is
not,
horrible.
Yeah, again, we don't... Again, there's been some rumors. We're not sure, specifically what's going on. But you may not see him again with the Warriors the rest of the year, and if they don't get that two-way wing back, one of the best can hit the three ball is great for them last year. I don't think they can do it without Andrew Wiggins, which is something, might have been crazy to say, but he's been really good for them. So I think without him, it's going to be tough.
But can we talk about the other elephant in the room in the Western Conference?
We don't talk about the Lakers, do we?
We have to.
Oh, man.
But different angle.
Okay.
It wasn't just Westbrook holding them back. They're a better team when LeBron's off the court. They play a lot faster. They play to their strengths. LeBron in the game slows that team down, and they have to play a slower offense, which teams can catch up to, and that's the defend.
How you respond?
I hate to admit it. I don't really like watching them play when he's on the floor either. I mean, I think that's the problem with LeBron. I mean, people see the numbers and they say, oh, he hasn't fallen off. But if you look at his efficiency and how he handles teammates in terms of getting guys fed and getting guys in the flow of the offense, he's taking steps back. He's lost steps. And that's not, again, and we talked about this before too, he's lost steps defensively years ago. Yeah. So at the end of the day, Father Time's undefeated. He may not have robbed LeBron the way he's robbed other guys as much. I mean, he's aging very gracefully, but the efficiency isn't there. The ability to carry a team isn't there like it was. And as much as people don't want to admit it, I do think, this might be unpopular to say, I do think he stat pads a little too much in that offense.
Yeah, I agree, because when you see Anthony Davis play without him, he runs the floor.
It was no show yesterday, and for that reason, LeBron made his return.
He runs the floor, and they flow through AD. Mm-hmm. The AD that the Lakers want only happens when LeBron is on the floor. Mm-hmm. And that's a telltale sign. Now, them two together in a playoff series, yeah, I'm not going to put anything past them. I'll give you that, because superstars are superstars. In the playoffs, it's all about superstars.
Yep.
But at the same time, it's like, when you watch their offense flow when he's not on the court, it's like, man, AD's looking like, out here looking like Lou Alcindor out here, just doing everything. 25 points, 15 rebounds, 4 blocks, 2 steals. doing everything.
And a tough one, obviously, for them yesterday. They lose in LeBron's return. He came off the bench for just the second time in his career. They were at home against the Bulls. Pat Bev hit LeBron with the too small yesterday after a bucket inside. The Bulls beat the Lakers. I don't. Well, the Bulls, Pat Bev effect, I'll tell you.
It's not even that. The Bulls are somewhat healthy right now. This is healthy as they've really been all year. So
it's been a bad year for them.
They're going to get some games where they'll get you. I mean, because look at it right now, switch to the Eastern Conference. They're in the play-in as of right now as a 10 seed.
Well, let's go to the Eastern Conference now before we wrap up here on this Monday night. The Bucks have taken over the top spot in the East. They have a game and a half on the Boston Celtics, who held that top spot for most of the regular season. The last couple of weeks, we've seen some shifting atop of the East. Philadelphia, the 76ers, 4 games behind Milwaukee, 2.5 behind Boston for that 2 spot. Cleveland sitting behind them, 6 games behind that top spot. Bucks just 2 behind the Sixers. A lot of talk about the Sixers. Embiid sitting tonight in that supposedly MVP matchup with Nikola Jokic. A lot of the Sixers are talking about maybe, and again, these are rumors not too worried about if they get the 4 seed or the 3 seed. If they get the 4 seed, that they may want Milwaukee in the second round there as opposed to the Celtics in the second round. What do you guys think about that for the Sixers' potential playoff matchup? Who would you rather play in the second round, Milwaukee or Boston?
For Philadelphia's sake, you might want Milwaukee because you can't get past Boston. It's been proven.
Oh, there you go, coming from Jason's.
Look at the records.
Oh, you don't have to tell me. I've lived through it, you know.
But no, honestly, Embiid, he's resting. Also, Giannis is out tonight, so that's another. So gives you a little grace there. See what Boston did last night without Tatum. Beat somebody by 40 points down there last night. So, but let's give it up to the Cavs.
Make it a run here.
The first time they've made the playoffs, non-LeBron team since that Sean Kemp team in '98. Sean Kemp, Terrell Brandon. That's saying a lot.
And again, 8-2 for the Cavs in their last 10 games. Again, just 2 games behind that 3 spot for the Philadelphia 76ers. Donovan Mitchell, since he's entered the league, has made the playoffs every year as a 6 seed or higher. He goes to Cleveland this offseason. Here they are at a 4 spot. What stands out to you, Matt, in the Eastern Conference?
Well, there's a divorce coming, whether anybody knows it or not. And that divorce is going to be Brown or Tatum at some point. I don't think
Brown,
they work.
It seems to be a little weird right now.
I don't think they work well together. I think they deal with each other. I think that I don't think there seems to be
you shut
chemistry.
your mouth. You shut your mouth talking right now. Shut your mouth. You shut your mouth.
I just think it's going to happen. Eventually, look, I like parts of when they play, but they don't play, I don't know, they're just struggling to connect at times on that court at the same time. Philadelphia, the real MVP is sitting. I know people have Jokic. Jokic will probably get it.
I hope not.
I hope not too.
I think it could be Embiid's year.
But if we're talking defense,
it's Embiid all day.
It's Embiid all day. And Milwaukee, I think, is always going to be dangerous. As long as they got Giannis, they're always going to be dangerous. But Cleveland, again, you got to take your hats off not just to Donovan, but you also got to take your hats off for those GMs. I mean, they took Darius Garland, they took Mobley. They made that trade to get Jared Allen. Like, they've strategically made plans.
Bickerstaff's done a good job.
Yeah.
I think, as
so,
well.
I mean, hats off to them. And then,
shout out to the Knicks.
Yeah.
Shout out.
I wanted to take this back to the Dallas conversation because Jalen Brunson is the
reason
man.
why they're struggling.
I love me. Is the reason because he's out?
The reason why Dallas is struggling.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. Again, Luka gets hurt last year, whatever, misses a game. Brunson drops 30 and 15, whatever he did there. They tried to or didn't want to sign him earlier in that season. He goes to New York and gets his buddy Josh Hart and company, and they look pretty good.
He's a true point guard, and you don't have one of those in Dallas because Luka isn't a pure point, neither is Kyrie.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
The Knicks are a team to look. They make a run, Knicks.
The way Randall was heating up and cooking folks, anything is possible.
They were hot, 4-6 in their last 10. Though they were on a period where they'd won.
Knicks are kind of mid to me.
But I think it's time to say. Listen.
They're kind of mid to me. I'm gonna be honest with you.
The whole Eastern Conference, outside of the top 3, the Eastern Conference is mid.
Like the Knicks fans lose their mind when Randall gets 20 points. They act like they seen like 40-point game or something. He does his little shake. It's like, it's 20 points. Calm down.
But I'll give an unpopular opinion to the fans of the squad that I cheer for. I like Philadelphia. I think this is the year where they get it right.
Well, that would make me a happy person.
No, I mean, like, there's something different about the attitude on this year's team. I think the difference from the other teams in the last 3 years to this year, I think it's mindset. I think they finally rallied around Embiid 100%, seeing the disrespect he's getting from the voters and things. I think that has fueled the team to do what they're doing. And you have a Maxey a year wiser. You have Tobias.
I think he's playing the best.
You have Tobias finally finding a role in that contract that actually makes sense. I get that.
Tobias is so.
I get that. And Harden's finally bought in. And I
got
think
into shape. Didn't look like Luka Doncic coming into this season. He looked a little bit better than
That's
that.
a fact.
So I honestly, to eye test, I like Philly a lot in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah.
All right, before we wrap up, guys, let's get our Eastern Conference. Who do you got coming out of the East before it ends today? And we'll dive into all this deeper right before the NBA playoffs. Matt, who you got coming out of the East if it were to end today?
I got Philly.
Honestly, I'm gonna have to say it. Yes, I said it. I got Philly.
Wow, I feel like if I take the Sixers, they'll never do it. So, I mean, I would, and I should, but maybe I shouldn't just for the sake of their futures. But I'll do it anyway. 76ers in the East. For me, a team to watch out for still in the West would be the Warriors, but without Wiggins, I think that really kills them. We'll see how Durant and the Suns look when he comes back. So the NBA really starting to heat up, guys. Playoffs just around the corner. I think 7 games left for the Sixers after tonight's game with the Nuggets. Before we close out, MLB opening day on Thursday. The Phillies are in action with the Rangers at Texas, 4:05 p.m. first pitch. DeGrom on the mound, his first start as a Ranger. So the Phillies can't escape Jacob DeGrom, whether it's with the Mets and now with the Rangers. They get him for opening day either way. Phillies 8th in the Vegas odds to start the season to win the World Series at plus 1,800. So a top 8 team. We'll see if they can do it. Guys, any final words before we close out?
Now with Hopkins going down, I think
that hurts.
That's a big blow. I don't see it.
It's a big blow. Big day today. We'll see maybe by the next time we get together on Monday if Lamar Jackson will have a new team. We'll figure that situation out going forward. But for Jason McCall,
women's Final Four or the Elite 8
tonight.
The last 2 games for Elite 8, the women's bracket. I still got LSU cutting the nets down.
I got South Carolina still, but I think I had a South Carolina LSU final. What do you think, man?
I'm gonna go with Angel Reese.
There you go. So you call us Staley. I'll do it on Staley. That'll do it for us at DETV Sports here this Monday. For Jason, Matt, and myself, Dennis, great job with Ivan in the back. We'll see you next time.